Yeah. Bjorgvin's going to be on the podcast tomorrow. I'm having a ball doing the live every morning thing.
Is
Have
it
you
bringing you
revenue?
new well and people visiting the Mexico site?
That's one thing I talked to Graham about yesterday. He's a really good at
Hmm.
making that really good or making that really serve him well. He gave me some good ideas. One of the things I'm doing is I'm naming it different, so that he says that if I have just Mixed Coach Live, nobody's going to find me except for people who are actually looking for me on um, YouTube. So I started naming things what I thought we would talk about.
Yes.
So Bjorgvin, tomorrow we're doing the thing on it's called Step by Step Mixing with Only 5 Plugins, which sounds like a great headline, right?
Oh, brother.
So we're going to talk about that. He's written a book like that. So we've got 2 people on. Say hello in the comments, guys, so we'll know you're here. And whoever's the first, we'll listen to your song first. So, oh, it's a dead heat. Michael Gaither and Alphamatic Cody said that they appeared at the same exact time.
Oh,
So
man.
we're going to listen to Cody's in one ear and Michael's in the other.
Perfect.
Films these days. Who is that? Nathan. So Nathan, are you a filmmaker?
Ethan? Wait.
Yeah, it says films these days is his handle.
I'll be. Don't know.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
We'll listen to in the order. We'll listen to Michael's first, okay?
Okay.
And we just happen to have yours pulled up, Michael. So put your seatbelts on. Let's listen to the song. Now, hey, if I don't listen to your song all the way down to the end, don't be offended by that or anything. We got 5 songs to listen to tonight, and hopefully I'm going to give you some feedback that'll kind of shape the mix a little bit. In some cases, I might ask you to tweak it up and turn it in next week. In some cases, you'll be done. All right. So, and also, Larry, I want to make sure that you jump in there too. I don't want to be a ball hog. Right. All right. So here we go, Michael. This is you. Okay.
Speak low when you speak low. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low when you speak low. Our moment is swift, like ships adrift, we're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, I'll wait. Darling, I'll wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon? Speak low, darling, speak loud. Our summer day withers away too soon, speak low. Darling, speak loud. Our moment is swift, like ships adrift, we're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, now wait, darling, now wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon?
So good. I love this song. It's such a good performance. I'm sitting there. I can't help but play air bass when I hear it. It's so good, right? Okay, Michael, I've got a couple of suggestions for you. Okay, Um, so I feel like, I mean, the blend is pretty good. There's one thing in the mix that seems to be kind of like dwarfing everything else, and it's hard for me to say because I'm a bass player, but I think the bass might be a little too loud. And so I wanted to give you a trick where you can kind of, if you think something may be taking over your mix, mute it and see how the mix comes together. Get used to the mix without it. I do that sometimes. Like if I think I've got the drums or if I think my attention is going to the drums too much, sometimes I'll take the drums out and I'll do a mix without drums. So then the things that need to rise to the top get attention. Then when I put the drums back in, they're better because of it, because now I've got little rides that I wouldn't have normally made if the drums were just blazing, right? So I do that on pop music. On this timeless kind of music, that bass is so good and I want to hear it, but I feel like it's just either a little too loud or a little bit too much low-end energy going on. I did a live video this morning talking about filtering on bass. I think your bass could use just a little bit of filtering and just a little bit of volume down. So what I want you to do to check it is to mute the bass and then see if you can hear everything else. Get used to it without the bass. And then when you put the bass back in, you're going to notice that your walls start to shake a little bit. Yeah, the vocals sound good. Yeah, when she sings high, she jumps out a little bit more. And that's kind of the level that I want to hear her more. I feel like when she's a real dynamic singer. She sings real soft and then she'll pop it out a loud one there. So it's kind of a hard thing to navigate. I'm just curious, Michael. There is a link at the top of this chat. Can you see it? It says hdpstreamyard.com. If you can see that, click it, and I want to chat with you for a second, okay? Larry, what thoughts do you have?
First of all, the playback seems to be phasing some in my headphones, so I'm not sure. You're not in your control room speakers, right? Oh, you're muted, I think.
No, I'm not. I'm listening to it from the computer, which let me hit play one more time and make sure. No, it's just coming from my headphones. It's probably just not the best. If you want to, Larry, let me paste a link and you can listen to this. You can listen to this on your speakers.
Okay. And I can do that later. Because we'll listen to everybody's, but it was like phasing some, and I just wanted to make sure there's nothing we could do to solve it right now. I agree with you wholeheartedly that probably objectively, the bass in an attempt to get it so full had too much of the energy. And I would have loved to have seen where all of the inner harmonic overtones is where you got that drive, instead of having something, the drums or the bass, try to push it for the fullness. And then the dynamics, boy, would really be dynamic. Same comment.
Yeah.
But good mix.
I think the biggest thing, Michael, is, and I'm assuming that it won't it won't necessarily work because I haven't seen you yet. But I think the biggest issue that you've got is just that your bass is a little bit loud. So, and I don't know what you're listening on, and that could make a big difference. It could be that whatever you're listening to could be like a less bassy set of headphones. And if that happens, then you tend to want to push up the bass to fill it in for you. But what you should do when you're mixing any kind of music like this, if I'm mixing a kind of music that I'm not used to mixing, the first thing I'll do is I'll ask my client, hey, what's tickling your ears lately? What are you loving to hear? What can I listen to that that would give me a good reference for this. I don't try to hide it or anything like that. I say, I want to knock this out of the park. I want to know what you like. And then listen to that mix on the same headphones, on the same monitors that you're using to mix this. And then when you notice that your bass is a lot louder, it's easy to go, well, my mix sounds better because I've done it too. But what you should do is listen to it and compare it. And even if you just save a copy of it, save it just the way you like it, and then listen to a copy of it and try to match the reference. And what you'll notice is probably most of the references are not going to have the bass this loud. What model is Sennheiser, Michael? Not that I'm totally aware of all the different kinds of all the Sennheiser models, but curious to know.
And Michael has asked me to help recommend some moderate priced monitors. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to research to give him the best advice, so he may switch over. That does change things a small bit, but you can do it under headphones all day long.
Yeah. Well, Michael, let me tell you too, and this is something, if you don't have the resource yet that I've got at HD200 Pro, okay, I'm not familiar with those. Larry may be. If you haven't downloaded the resource yet at mixcoach.com, it's better. I think it's called Better Mixes Overnight or something like that. In that resource, I'll tell you that your monitors, you can go and buy a $10,000 set of monitors, and I've done it before, and still not be completely happy with what those monitors tell you, because what you have to do is you remember the Colombo. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Colombo, but Colombo was this weird-looking guy that you thought he was a weirdo, and he wore a trench coat, and his eye was kind of crooked, and his hair was all messed up all the time. But he would ask some of the dumbest questions to people, and they would just roll their eyes at him. And what he was doing was he was getting everybody's opinion on a certain subject. And how it applies to me is like if I ask my 9-year-old daughter what she thought about church on Sunday, she's going to have an opinion of it, but I have to look at it like a 9-year-old girl's opinion of church. I can ask my wife and she would have a completely different opinion on the same exact service, right? So I have to triangulate what their opinions are of a certain situation. What Columbo did when he was trying to figure out who done it, he would ask the people and he would ask them questions and he would listen to the way they answered. So what you're going to find with a $5,000 car stereo, with a $20,000 car stereo, with a $10,000 set of monitors, or a $50 set of headphones, is they're all going to tell you quite a little bit different of a story. And what you have to do is say, okay, I know the bass is a little loud in these headphones. I know the bass is light in those headphones. I know that the vocals are going to seem forward on this one. And I know that everything sounds great on these headphones. So that they're not really... They're telling me what I want to hear all the time, so that I'm not going to really figure out anything from them. So when you do buy your monitors, hey, I've got a set of headphones that I highly recommend. They're really cheap. If you can find them, don't buy them because I want them. I think I left them at the studio. Yamaha RHM5A. In the chat, I love those headphones. On a mix like this, the bass would have been screaming on them, and I wouldn't have been able to listen to it with the bass as loud as it is, because my headphones would have said, those are the headphones that I say, this one tells me if I've got my bass too loud, and if I've got anything in the top end really too loud, like a shaker or a hi-hat. The older we get, the less top end hearing that we have. It's just a fact of life. And the older you get and the more mix, you have to depend on either young interns, young students, or really bright headphones to tell you if you've got something too loud. That's what these RHM5As do for me. So figure out the story that your HD200 Pros are telling you by listening to some good music and your music in comparison to it, okay? Like if you listen to a mix you like and you go, man, it's just everything about it. And then you listen to your mix on it, the snare's too hot. You can say, these guys will tell me if my snare's too hot because you heard it, right? That's what I did when I bought my very expensive monitors. Was I went to this store in Nashville and I took some mixes in there. The mix that I knew I didn't like, and I thought if I could have just heard that, I would have known. I made him play that on those monitors. And when I found those monitors, I said, those are the ones. And I brought them home. So anyway, just mainly the main thing, Michael. And if you want to turn in a mix next week, you can. I think the bass is a little loud. Larry, you think we ought to do one more recall on that again to turn it in?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, and that'll be your final submission. We'll meet next week, but then we will not meet finals week, and we will take what they submit, and not everyone will have to submit, or maybe they will. We'll see. Good.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Michael. Understood. Good stuff. He says, thank you very much, man. And it's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to hearing with the adjusted bass next week. So, okay. So let's see who's here. Cody. I'm going to grab Cody's link and drop it in here. We're going to go there. And I'm going to drop it also in the chat window so you guys can see it, hear it at a higher quality now and later. So let's listen to it. All right, here we go. This is Cody.
Speak low when you speak loud. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low when you speak loud. Our moment is swift, like ships adrift. We're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, too soon. I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, I'll wait. Darling, I'll wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon? Speak low, darling, speak low. Our summer day withers away too soon, speak low. Darling, speak loud. Our moment is swift, like ships adrift. We're swept apart. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so free. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, now wait. Darling, now wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon?
Cool. Good stuff, Cody. So, Cody, if you find the link at the top that says ScreenYard on it, if you want to hit that, you can be our guest and we'll pop you up on the screen. And we can talk in real time too. I have a couple of comments I wanted to mention, a couple questions for you, including what you're monitoring on, etc. So, Larry, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, first of all, for me, I was not able to get the Dropbox working, so I'm still listening inside of this, and it's still phasing for me, so it's a little difficult to tell. What I interpreted was the like the hi-hat, the cymbals were a little bright and drew my attention that way. Was kind of one comment.
Okay. All right, I got Cody on the stream here. Hey man, how you doing?
Good.
Okay, so yeah, sorry the Dropbox is not working. I thought I would be able just to drop it in there. I may have to make it public or something like that. Okay, so a couple of things I wanted to ask you. What are you monitoring on, Cody? What are you listening to your mix on?
PreSonus 8-inch studio monitors.
Okay. All right. So one of the things I noticed, Cody, was that the bass seemed wide to me. Did you pan the bass out in stereo or do a delay or maybe take the two mics and spread them out a little bit? What did you do?
Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay. All right.
I did some panning, but I'm not sure if I did it to the bass because that song sticks in your head, don't it? That bass is just epic. I thought about calling Marshall and just saying, "Hey, would you just teach me how to walk a bass like that?" He just never runs out of notes, does he? Yeah, I didn't pan. Well, I threw the ST bass that was a stereo wave. I didn't split that wave into two, but I did pan it to the right 28 notches. Okay. And then the other bass, the DI bass, I panned to the left 28 notches. That's what I'm hearing. So I did bring those out a little bit. Yeah. So most of the time when you see stereo bass, just from experience, what I normally do is just pan those hard left and right. And then the DI bass I usually put in the middle. Because here's the effect I got from your mix. I felt like the bass was stereo, but not a lot of other stuff was stereo. I heard the saxophone pan just a little bit to the left, but I heard the piano right in the center. I heard the guitar right in the center, the vocal and the verb right to the center. And the only thing that seemed like stereo was the bass to me. Can you look at your panning and see where you panned the piano? The piano, the regular piano, I split the channels and panned the piano near. I split full left and right, and then the piano far, I kept dead center. Okay, it just seemed like everything was stuck in the center. You remember when we were mixing the first song and the second song? Yeah. We were talking about the things that need to be in the middle. I don't know if it was the way it got printed or what, but it just seems like a lot of stuff got caught in the center there. Like the electric guitar. Is it a mono electric guitar or is it stereo? I can't remember. It's mono, and I do have that one dead center. Okay, so anything that you can get out of the center, even if slightly, would be the thing to do on that sort of thing. The thing like bass guitar, I mean, having a stereo bass is an unusual thing, but that's what came with that's what he did. I had forgotten that it was a stereo bass. I would. The imaging thing is the thing that bothers me a little bit on this one, but also the bass seemed a little on the bright side, on the loud side too. But I'm starting to suspect my monitors here. I would like to hear this on another thing, but I know these headphones well enough to know that it seems like the bass is a little bit hot and everything's kind of stuck in the center. So would you mind doing one more revision on this? Experiment with panning the stereo basses out far left and right, or all the bass to the center. Take the bass out and then see what the imaging is like with no vocal and no bass, and see if you can kind of close your eyes and see people, kind of where they are. Not hard left and right,
I'm talking about piano stereo, left and right. So you're kind of getting this wide image of the piano. But when you mono it seems to come from the center, of course. But out left and right, you're getting this wide thing. And I'm wondering, Cody, if when you're splitting stuff, what are you using? Logic?
I'm using Cubase, and what I have to do in Cubase 5 is I have to bounce the wave, the stereo waves out and split the channels. I have to bounce them out into new waves and then bring them back in.
Okay, I'm wondering if you're not getting stuck in the weeds a little bit on that. Like, is there a way that you could be missing one little tick box that's making the waves come back in mono? And now you're panning them left and right, but it's still mono. It's like the same thing on both channels. And one solid way to try that, if you're a little bit more advanced, is to flip the phase of one side of it. And if it completely disappears in mono, then it's a mono signal. If it just sounds like it's wide,
yeah, I would have to play with it a little bit.
Okay. I want you to own this one. Just experiment with that. And your mixes have been so good so far. And I just want this one to match up with the rest of them, especially given the style of music that it is. Because if you can mix this kind of music, there's not a lot you can't do. You know?
Well, and it's interesting because it sounds way different on my monitors than it does through here.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that a lot. And I need to figure out I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know if it's almost as if my monitors are giving me too good of a from what I understand, learning in the past is sometimes your monitors give you too good of a sound or too natural of a sound or good of a sound, and then when you go to take what you mixed outside of your monitors, everything changes.
I bought a set of Mackie monitors when they first came out and mixed a project on them and sold them the next day because I hated my mix. Yeah, I mean that listening to monitors like that is like the guy that won't tell you the truth. He tells you what you want to hear all the time, and you don't know where you stand. And I'm not saying your monitors are doing that to you, but you've got to learn to read into them a little bit. Having a good set of monitors is one thing. Knowing what they're telling you is another thing. Those PreSonus, I suspect that they're really good. That's why a lot of engineers go with NS10s and they use a certain kind of headphones, or you just have to learn. You have to learn what the monitor's telling you, and then learn to trust that. And then I recommend mixing it on several different sets of monitors, like what triangulate is what I call it, where you say, okay, snare sounds good on my snare monitors. The bass sounds good on these headphones that amplify bass quite a bit, and it sounds pretty good in my car. So I'm pretty close. Everything's down to taste now. It's not like you'd be surprised when it comes, when the single drops, or when the mix comes out, or when somebody listens to it. So that's what I would recommend to you. Don't just trust your PreSonus monitors. What kind of headphones do you have there? And what does the mix sound like on those?
I have these Shure headphones right here.
What about the ones you're wearing right now?
These are just some random Sony, just something I have plugged into my laptop.
Yeah. Well, what does the mix sound like on those? Because you just said it sounds completely different, right?
Yeah, it sounded actually, compared to my monitors, it sounded terrible.
Those are the ones you need to be mixing on.
These ones?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's not about how much you spend on monitors. It's whichever one's telling you the truth. And it sounds like, and I'm not saying your mix is terrible. Don't take it like that. But if you're not happy with the mix, and well, the things that you think sound terrible, does it line up with what I'm telling you?
A little bit. Like I was definitely the bass. There was something going on with the bass that I didn't.
listen. Okay, here's what I've done before, and I've been happy doing this. Mix it on the terrible set of monitors, and then go back to the PreSonus, and then say, okay, what do you say? And if it says, yeah, it sounds good, they're going to tell you that anyway. It sounds like, right?
Right.
Mix it on the ones that are the hardest to listen to it on. I mean, don't damage your ears or anything like that, but I'm just saying there's a lot of credibility in those headphones that you're wearing if they told you this mix doesn't sound the way you thought it did, right?
Right. Okay.
So I would, that's a goal right there. I would be listening on those monitors. So do me one more favor before next week. Recall the song, look at the bass, kind of normalize the bass. And I say normalize, not in the definition of the word, but standardize it. Pan the left and right to the left and right, and put the DI in the middle, and then see how much other stuff you can get out of the middle. If it's a stereo signal like the piano, just pan the piano just for now. Pan it left is right, left is left, right is right, and don't get too fancy with that. See if you can get some more imaging out of those things. Put the bass in the middle, take everything else out of the middle. You only want the lead vocal and the bass guitar, kick and snare in the center. Okay, everything else try to clear out of there so that you have room. Listen in mono a lot and listen on those headphones. What are they? You said Sony?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some regular Sony brand.
Yeah. Flip on over to them. I never would have thought that I would reference a final mix on my $50 set of Yamahas, but this is the trek of an engineer, man. This is why people buy expensive monitors, not because they're expensive, but because they tend to tell the truth, right? They tend to reveal something that no other monitors do. That's why so many people still mix on those NS10s. It's not that they sounded good, it's that, but you can believe what they say, Yeah.
All right.
Good job, man. I'm looking forward to hearing your recall next week.
Okay, cool.
All right. See you, Cody. Okay. Michael says, great point, Cody, about the changes in sound across platforms. Yeah, hopefully we got to the bottom of that, Cody, and you'll be able to figure that out. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Man, we're moving kind of slow, but there's only a couple people here. Cody's is done. Who else is here? Nathan? Let's listen to Nathan since he's here. I'm going to put the link down here so you can. Hey, Larry, see if you can pull up this latest Dropbox rendering I've done in the chat section. All right, so I'm going to listen to this on the on my monitors, and we'll go from there. Here we go. And this is Nathan's mix.
I'm not hearing anything.
Are you not? Sorry. Hang on.
Too soon, I speak loud. Darling, speak loud. Our moment is swift like tips adrift, this rest apart and see. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, I speak. Wherever I go, that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. Every songs, every ends. Too soon now. Darling, now wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon.
Okay. Sorry about the little confusion there at the beginning. Nathan, grab that link at the top that says StreamYard. I want to talk to you about your mix real quick. I'll see you when you pop in. Larry, what are your thoughts?
I thought he did a good job. The bass held real well. I thought the piano appeared to be distant in its sound listening to this mix. Mm-hmm. The vocals, stood in there. And the hi-hat, that range of the drums seemed a little too much for me. Drew my attention again away from the song.
Yeah. Well, the couple of things, and Nathan, just let me know in the comments if you're not able to hit that link, and then we'll carry on. But here's a couple of things that I noticed. I personally liked hearing the imaging of the drums. I loved hearing the tang of the ride cymbal. I like that. I did think the bass was a little too loud again, and I'm really starting to second guess these headphones because everybody's mix has the bass too loud, it seems like. And the imaging of the bass is a little weird too. Perhaps the stereo bass is throwing everybody a little bit. I would like to see the left of the bass pan left and the right of the bass turn right. And either don't use or use in the center the DI or the direct signal from the bass. One other thing I want you to mention too is the piano solo. It was distant. It was you couldn't really hear it. So what I'd like for you to do, and I'm assuming you're not going to be able to come on. So let's see. We got a new comment here. Mac isn't letting me connect. Okay. So here's what I'd like for you to do. Okay. I want you to do the same thing that I told Michael in the beginning. I want you to mute the bass and I want you to listen to everything else. And then get used to it without the bass in it. Then when you put the bass in, you're going to see that it feels a little loud and it feels a little left of center a little bit. Literally in my headphones, a little left of center. Take the left and right, pan it hard left and right, take the DI, put it down the center. And the reason I can say that so boldly is because on this kind of music, you don't want to hear any kind of like fancy bass. You're not looking for a Beatles kind of mix where the drums are on one side and the bass guitar's on the other, and the vocals over here. And you're kind of looking for like you're in a club environment and you're sitting at the best seat in the house, right in front of the drummer and the bass player. They're playing, and you can hear a little bit of width on the stage, but everything seems to be coming out of the center. When the piano solo comes up, you're going to need to goose it a little bit because he's featured and he needs to be where the vocal was. Okay. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb when you're mixing jazz music, bluegrass music, classical music, anything like that. Maybe not classical music, but jazz music. When the singer's singing and they're in front of the mic and they take a step back, whatever is playing is not necessarily suggested. It's kind of like served to you. So it should be a little louder. So what I'd love for you to do is to push up the piano. When you listen to the whole mix without the bass, without the vocal in it, and then the piano solo comes, you want to hear it above everything else, okay? Just a little bit above, not a lot. No extremes here. Talking about 2 or 3 dB probably. And pull that up, and then pull the bass down a little bit and pan it out to where, where kind of like the normal range of the bass, left, right, center. Okay. So Larry, I don't know if I don't want to contradict you or anything like that. I totally, buy into the things pulling your attention. Mm-hmm. But I kind of liked, and it could be the headphones I'm listening to. I liked the fact that you could hear the ride. As a matter of fact, in a lot of jazz music, they will mic the ride cymbal just for those when they start riding it, But anyway.
No, so perfect. So for the resubmission, and I think everybody here wants to get the most out of this class. So it's looking like everybody's going to resubmit, and that's good. Take these small, if you were in a studio, you'd have the clients making those final comments. No, so leave those symbols and everything right where they were. Potentially, these are my headphones with this phase challenge I'm dealing with.
Yeah. So, but I think if you take your mix back apart, you take the bass out of it, you kind of listen to that. I do that on the regular. When I'm mixing something, I'm like, is that too hot? I'll take it out for a second and I'll get used to the mix without it. And then I'll pop it back in and I'll go, no, that sits in the mix just fine. Or maybe it's that one little thing that's too hot. I think your bass is too hot. I think everybody's bass has been too hot. And I don't know what the deal is there. If it's, it could be my headphones. I don't know, but just listen to your mix one more time and see if you think the bass is too hot. I see you, Nathan.
Okay, now it's working. Turns out that the microphone wasn't connected. The camera was connected, but not the microphone. I'm not sure why.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you hear any of what I was saying there?
Okay. Yeah, so I muted YouTube yeah.
Okay. Looks like we got about one frame.
Yes, I did hear some of it. Sorry. I closed in and out of the browser a couple times because I was trying to connect to the camera and microphone. I was kind of fighting with that, but I did hear what you said. You want me to mute the bass, listen to the rest of the song, listen to the song without it. Then you might be able to take a look at, say, you mentioned the piano was a bit faint. I was kind of screwing around with practically every single fader and switch on the mixer during this. Like those equalized, like the more round circular ones, I was kind of screwing around with them, kind of flipping them back and forth. The panning might have been a bit off, like you mentioned. So that might have
panning didn't bother me
because you mentioned like some instruments on the other. Should I fix that, or is it okay as it is? Because I remember like in an earlier mix you were talking about trying to make it sound like everyone was performing in the same place, and that's kind of like what I was trying to go for here. Kind of trying to figure out what it might look like on the stage, but perhaps didn't work 100%.
Well, do that with an exception of keeping in mind that the things that need to be in the center, the things I mentioned like kick, snare, vocal, bass guitar, those all need to be in the center 99% of the time. Other than that, kind of pan them out across the stage a little bit. But the piano seemed a little light to me. Now, you dropped out when you said you were experimenting with something, and I don't know exactly what you said, but
I was trying to get the camera and the microphone to work. That's what I was doing because
Well,
I didn't realize there was a microphone that wasn't working now.
Oh, that's okay. I'm referring to your mix. You were saying you were experimenting with something in the mix, and you dropped out right as you said it. So,
oh, sorry. I was looking back at the stream to see what it was looking like. I noticed there's like a slight delay on the YouTube stream. Apologies.
Yeah, it's going to be about 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay, so essentially, what I was doing. Let me pull up Mixbus here for a second. I can show you guys what I was doing.
You can share your screen too, if you will.
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as I have Mixbus open.
My daughter has been seeing this trend on YouTube where you whip coffee, and she made me a whipped coffee, and I finished the whole thing. I just hope that it was a decaf. I doubt it.
Oh dear. Oh dear, that's not a good sign. Okay, let's see here. Okay. There we go. So let me go to the mixer here. I was referring to kind of like the equalizer and all the switches surrounding it was where I was kind of messing around with them to because I know sometimes if you flip one over to too much to one end or the other, it kind of ends up a little muted or muffled. I'm trying to think of which one that was in particular.
Okay, let me explain something to you real quick, Nathan. That equalizer is pretty predictable if you look at it correctly. Larry, you may have to help me explain that because I'm not familiar enough to know if they go vertical. I think they go vertical, right?
On the top row, it's gain, low, mid, high, from left to right, and on the bottom three, it's frequency, 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 sweep, and then the white one is the high pass or low cut. Make sense, Kevin?
Yeah. It makes sense now. They're stacked on top of each other. So Nathan, if the bottom ones of those three are in the center, you won't hear anything happening. Okay.
No. I'm sorry. The top ones are the volumes, I think, and the bottom ones are the frequency.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me go to the piano ones and see what's going on here. Yeah, those are like directly in the center, so that might explain why you said the piano sounded kind of distant. Maybe I should try fixing this up.
I'm not sure that would have anything to do with the piano being distant. I think the fader would be the thing on that. That's going to be the thing under.
The faders of the piano look a little low in comparison to everything else, and it was kind of different elements.
You can't really use your eyes to say, yeah, that looks a little low. You need to use your ears for that sort of thing. So it may look lower than everything else, but I think if you listen to it and you close your eyes and you say, and this is kind of the way I like to approach a mix sometimes when I'm mixing something where I need to blend everything together, is you listen to it with the perspective of like, if the piano player's mom was listening to this mix, would she like my mix? Or would she come back to me at the back of the board and go, hey, Nathan, why can't I hear my son, the piano player? You need to listen to it like that. Now, the bass player's mom, he would really, really love you because you've got it up there pretty loud. Let me see how you got the bass panned, okay?
Okay, I'll scroll over there.
I think I see it.
Oh, yeah, bass. These three tracks. Yeah, I also grouped everything together based on your video. I didn't watch the entire thing, but I watched a good chunk of it.
Good. Okay. So bass DI and stereo bass, ST bass, right? Okay. It looks like Larry, where is the pan? Is the pan the red knobs up there? It's hard for me to see them. Is the pan right beside?
Okay, so
the pans are right there because there's L and R. That's the pan left, pan right.
Okay. Hey, Nathan, here's what you need to do. This ST bass, put it right in the center. That is a stereo track, and it needs, if you put it right in the center, just double click it. If you just double click it, it goes right back to the center. Take the bass DI and double click it.
It's already in the center. I drove it to the center.
Well, the bass DI is? It looks like it's panned left. That's the
I
channel.
already dragged it to the center. I don't need to for the stereo bass. I already dragged that to the center.
Yeah, the stereo bass. Look to the channel.
I think they're the bass DL because the stereo bass is right in the center.
Yeah, the bass. That's a DI. It's called. It stands for
The
direct.
bottom right knob.
Take the bass DI and double click that panner until it goes to the center.
Sorry, your video's kind of breaking up.
Larry, can you tell him?
Yep.
Oh, okay. That
The base
that one.
DI, double click it and have it in the center also. And then save it with a new name
That's in the center right now.
and start your mix from there and then mute that like Kevin recommended to see.
Oh wait, don't save now. Save as. Sorry.
Okay, now you're breaking up this time. Say it again, please. One more time. It's breaking up.
I'm sorry. I was. Uh-oh. On my end, because it doesn't look like it's breaking up on my end.
I know.
Hey, Nathan, go ahead and just do your mix like that with the basses in the center. And for any of you other guys who did the bass, look what we did to Nathan's just now. And Larry, if you would remind people when they see this to notice this, because I think we lost a couple of people. That's what you need to do to the bass. That stereo bass is designed to be right in the center, and that means the left side is equal with the right side.
Okay.
The DI is planned to be in the middle. It's a mono channel, and it's supposed to be right in the center. That way you mix it together. And if things are panned out, they tend to grab your attention. That could be what's grabbing my attention on these bass guitars. Okay. All right, cool. Hey, thanks, Nathan.
One more thing. This is more for Larry, but again, you don't need to copy the media to the new session, right? Or do you need to copy to a new session? Because I remember we did that back in the old mixing class in the last fall, if I'm correct.
I'm not understanding, Nathan. He just wants you to do one more mix.
Copy the media to a new session.
No, you do not. You can name it with a new name and deselect. Do not select that copy media. You're right. Yep.
Nathan, one more thing before I let you go. Your mix was distorting in places too, at least on my end, which I think I'm getting probably the best version of this. It was distorting in places. If you would, we can't hear your audio, and that's fine, but take it to around the solo and let me see the master faders.
I can hear you guys just fine.
No, he meant if you played the song, we don't hear your playback.
Yeah,
we're hearing you fine.
We're hearing you. I just want to see your meters when you play the mix. Let me see your mix.
Oh, okay.
Larry, don't you love the fact that we can see their screen?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So where's the piano solo at? Because
just run it halfway
the
through there.
Waveforms are a little deceiving.
Just play it from right there, Nathan, and let me see your master faders.
Okay, I'll do it right after Don's vocals and the sax end up. Okay, here we go. The piano faders?
No, just play. Just hit play on your
It's. I hit play, but it's not actually
nope, you're
playing
right.
the song on my end, partially because
That's cool. Hey Nathan, I want you just to look at your level and make sure you're not distorting, because it was distorting definitely the mix. So work. You've got your bass fixed, I think. Mute it. Listen to the imaging of it. And you may want to take and see what the master fader is saying. I think you're slamming the meters a good bit. I think it's pretty loud. So you may need to do some adjustments. It looks like it's hard for me to tell what you're doing.
Give me a second. I think
we've still got to listen to 2 or 3 more mixes, Nathan.
Sorry, the video was breaking up on my end.
Yeah, I think we've got a bad connection. I'm gonna
I
move
apologize.
on. That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and do those things. Just make sure you're not distorting your mix. Yours is the only mix I've heard so far that sounded like it was distorting. So take a look at that, print it, resubmit it next week, and we'll take a listen to it, okay? Thanks, Nathan. Okay, cool. I just love the fact that we can see their mixes, their mixers. Okay, Larry, it looks like it's just me and you now listening to these mixes here. So,
okay, but you're recording, right?
I am recording, yes.
So, and we'll put it up for everybody. So, great.
All right, so let me Okay, so Leah's mix is here, listening.
Speak low when you speak loud. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low when you speak loud. Our moment is swift like ships adrift. We're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark, lost in the dark. Too soon, too soon. I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, I'll wait. Darling, I'll wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon? Speak low, darling, speak low. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Our moment is swift like ships adrift. We're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon. I feel wherever I go that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so free. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon now. Darling, now will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon.
Leah. That's a killer mix.
Yep.
Yes, it's okay, Nathan. You're free to go. Yeah, Leah, that's a fantastic mix. There's a couple things that I would mention though. The blend of everything's good. The imaging of everything's good. I feel like the hi-hat is too loud on this one. I think there is a mic over the hi-hat and it's filtered great. I just think it's a little loud. I can hear it, and it's just a little bit loud. And I can imagine what that's doing with Larry. If I thought it was loud.
No. Now the funny thing is the frequency difference. It still did what the others are doing, but the frequency selection contouring was not as grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
So
it sounded natural.
Good. Yep.
It really did. So Leah, no real need for you to turn in your mix again. I think this is fantastic. But there is a couple things that you ought to listen to in your own time because you can post this mix and be proud of it. The hat's a little loud to me. You might just want to take the overhead cymbal, whatever you want to do. Just pull those down a little bit. I would say maybe a couple 3 dB, maybe. And also, I like the blend of everything, but if you listen to it just before the piano solo starts, there's a little distortion where the band kind of surges a little bit. It kind of got a little hot there, and it felt like it distorted a little bit. So, so check that out. But yeah, I mean that's really all I have. The hat, and it distorted just before the piano solo. Of course, I only listened to half of it. The guitar solo sounded good. It was all in the right place. Really good job, Leo. Larry, any thoughts?
No. The only thing I'd have a question for you, Kevin, is if this were a release mix, right before I think the piano solo, the saxophone. I mean, I'm nitpicking, but these things caught my ear. The saxophone kind of competed to the point of covering her voice right before that. Did you notice that? Was it? I loved hearing it. It's in the right place, but there were like 3 notes in that one section and just overwhelmed it. Which, if she's going to automate, you're down to polishing it now.
Yeah. I think that's probably just a taste thing. I didn't really notice it. I could probably go back and take a listen to it too. But
no, perfect.
But there again, and Leah, take and everybody really. I mean, for the most part, take the comments we're saying. Mixing is such a subjective art that sometimes you have to say no. I like it, or my client likes it, or whatever. I'm gonna be happy with it. Take that with a lot of caution, especially if you've got people with your best interest at heart. But sometimes mixing is subjective, and sometimes you can say, I ran out of time, I ran out of money, my mix seemed to be getting worse, or whatever. All that comes into play. So take what we're saying with a grain of salt, and with our best intentions at heart. With that in mind, just look out for that distortion, Leah, and you should be proud of this. It's really good. Even there were even some compliments in the comments. Michael Gaither said Leah's sounded great, really good job, and thank you, Michael. That's he said the song reminded me of Carmen McRae. You took advantage of me, so I used that as comparison. I'm going to look that up right now, man. Okay, I'll check that out. That's cool. Okay, so Larry, let's listen to. I think Vince is the last one we have to listen to.
Colin didn't get one in.
Colin, I didn't see any.
Okay, he emailed me looking for the link, but okay.
Okay, maybe he can submit by next week.
Next week, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to change the screen. We're going to listen to Vincent, or what was I calling him?
Victor.
Victor. We're going to listen to Victor's mix. Victrola. Hey, that makes sense. Victrola. That's a great mixer name, man. You should go with that. Brand yourself as Victrola. Okay. All right. I'm going to paste Vincent's mix here just for reference. So you guys can listen on hi-fi headphones. And here we go. Let me make sure you can see it, hear it.
Speak low when you speak loud. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low when you speak loud. Our moment is swift, like ships adrift, we're swept apart too soon. Speak low, darling, speak loud. Love is a spark, blossom in dark. Too soon, I think. Wherever I go, that tomorrow is near, tomorrow is here, and always too soon. Time is so old and love so free. Love is pure golden time. We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain descends, everything ends. Too soon, I'll wait. Darling, I'll wait. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon? Speak low, darling, speak low. Our summer day withers away too soon, too soon. Speak low. darling, speak love. Our moment is swift like ships that drift, we're swept apart. Speak low, darling, speak love. Love is a spark lost in the dark. Too soon, I'll speak. Wherever I go, that tomorrow is here, tomorrow is here, and all the truth is so. Time is so long and love so brief. Love is pure golden time. Darling, we're made of 36 seconds. Too soon now. Darling, now. Will you speak low to me, speak loud to me, and soon.
Another really good mix there.
Yes.
Vincent, the blend was really good, really good. If I have any comments, it would be that it feels a little low overall volume. I'm wondering where you happened in the K metering thing on Mixbus. Or if you're mixing in Mixbus, I'm not sure. In this kind of music, it's probably not healthy to mix at K14, K12. It's probably better to mix it at like K20, just so you have that dynamic range back. But overall, the overall level felt a little low, at least compared to Leah's, but Leah's did distort. So I'm thinking yours might be more on par than Leah's right now. I think your mix, your blend of everything is really good. What was I going to tell you? Yeah, I mean, I think your blend was really good. I think it's a remarkable blend. One other thing I want to mention too, it's a thing that I call the attack principle, and that is when solos are starting. And this is kind of a next level thing. When solos are starting, make sure that we hear the first few notes of the solo, because what happens is that establishes that solo is happening to our ears. So have you ever, which you may not have if you don't mix a ton, but have you ever had anybody to say, the vocal's not loud enough? The vocal's not loud enough, but you keep pushing up the vocal and then you think it's too loud and everybody knows it's too loud, but you don't know what to do about it. A lot of times, the reason for that is that the first few notes of the solo of the vocal did not come through, and your ear makes a judgment call on those first three notes, and it says it's not loud enough. Then no matter what you do, it doesn't seem to fix the problem. On the inverse, on the other side, you can push up the vocal in the first few notes, and you can almost leave it low through the rest of the solo because you've established that it came in. The reason I say that is because on the first few notes of the sax solo, it was more like, and it's like, oh, I guess the sax is playing now, you know. So if you will take the first few notes and ramp them up and then bring them back down, your solo will sound louder, but you will not have increased the gain of it. So use that little trick from my playbook. It will be helpful, I think. But Larry, any thoughts on that mix? I thought it was great.
Yeah, excellent job, and the blend was good. I have a question for you, Kevin.
Okay.
So to me, the delay a little over affected on her voice stole the intimacy. At least on my phone, she had a little too much effects. Which made her distant and not in your face, but intimate. Where she,
Okay. Let me
I'll listen. Yeah, and the vocals are leading.
Well, and we could be having an issue with the phasing thing that you're hearing. I
Yep.
may not be hearing exactly what you're hearing. Let me listen one more time though.
Okay.
We're late, darling, we're late. The curtain is set.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Larry. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's the thing about effects, verb in particular, and delay, is that they take things that were in the front and they push them back a little bit. Anytime you add an effect to something, it kind of pushes it back in the stereo field. And I noticed her vocal was just a little bit low as a result of that, possibly as a result of that. But might want to take a look at that. I don't think you need to recall your mix. I think it's a great mix. But when you do the recall and print this thing out and say, I mixed this, one of the things you might want to do is dry up the vocal just a little bit or pull it forward a little bit with volume. You agree, Larry?
That's what I would have liked to have heard. I agree. He doesn't need to resubmit. I think it's a great mix. I really appreciated the blend. I'm not looking for things, but I'm trying to say, what impression was I given when I heard it? And that's what I heard. Yeah. Good job.
Okay. Well, cool. That's all we have to listen to tonight, Larry. Hopefully we'll get the rest of these submissions in before next week, and we'll listen to it one last time next week, and then that'll be the end of the semester.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging in there, Michael.
Yeah. All right. We'll end it here, and we'll see you guys next week. Okay. There's already, Larry, you already have, I will send you the link here in just a few minutes for next week. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Perfect.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.